Throughout civilization, there are some deaths in history that truly changed the world, like death of a leader, death of Stalin, or the death of kings and queens in different empires. In this video, we want to look at the death of a few leaders that changed history. For the death of the first leader, we have to go to the end of World War II in Italy. In the year 1944, the leader of Italy is Benito Mussolini, which you're all familiar with. But he was doing so terribly at this time that most of the people were against him and his ideology. And that's why his own government arrested him and put him in jail. As you know, Mussolini's main ally were the Nazis in Germany, which is why secret German agents were hired to go to Italy and somehow make Mussolini escape prison. The German agents very easily break Mussolini out of prison and take him to North Italy so he can form a government and they could at least control the northern part of the country. But you have to know, at this time, Mussolini is not a very popular person. Most people in Italy are against him. So that's why he's unsuccessful in forming a government in northern Italy. A few months passes and the Marxists take power in Italy. They don't truly have power in the whole country, but they are the most popular group. When the influence of the communists rise in Italy, this is when Mussolini is terrified. He knows if he's caught, he will be decimated. That's why he takes the hand of his mistress and says we have to escape Italy. He had plans to go to Switzerland, and after Switzerland, he was gonna sneak his way into Spain because General Franco, who was a fascist himself, was gonna give him refuge. But some people know the story. Mussolini is unsuccessful in escaping Italy because on the border of Switzerland, he's caught by the Marxists. The group that had captured Mussolini and his mistress were supposed to take him to Milan, where they could properly be dealt with. But these communists hated Mussolini so much that they couldn't stand giving him away to the new government. So they took actions in their own hands and executed Mussolini and his mistress in a parking lot. At that time, Italy is in such shambles that nobody truly knows who executed or who gave the order for the execution. And since most people weren't a fan of Mussolini, nobody truly cared to investigate what happened. Long story short, Mussolini's body gets to Milan, and to show the people that their previous leader has been killed, they showed his dead body to the people and allowed them to do whatever to it. And at the end, they hung his dead body on a frame where the local population could throw whatever they want. Okay, this was the fate of Benito Mussolini. Let's go check on Romania. You might be familiar with Nicolae Ceausescu. He was the leader of one of the most radical communist countries for over 30 years. In the year 1989, when the ideology of communism is dying out, this is when the Romanian people get up and start protesting against their totalitarian government, which was a really brave thing to do. It was an insane time because in such a short period of time, the people rose against the leader, and the protest was so massive that this dictator couldn't do anything about it. There's even videos of his speeches where the population down under is booing him. The funny thing is, Ceausescu himself is shocked that his people are doing this and the authority is not doing anything about it. But the population was so massive that the police couldn't do anything. Hell, most of the police and military men were on the people's side, not Ceausescu's. So all hope was lost for this dictator. It didn't take long where Ceausescu and his wife Elena realized that stuff has hit the fan and we have to bounce out of here. They get on the helicopter and try to escape. We're not sure to where. But this is when the military of Romania tells the pilot that you have to land this helicopter or we will shoot it down. So they're forced to land the heli. And these two, which were the most powerful people in Romania, are arrested. They take him to trial, and in a very short trial, they are sentenced to death. They take him to the backyard of the courtroom and shoot them both. And this is how Ceausescu and his wife were executed, and Romania changed forever. This basically fueled the fire of the fall of other communist countries in the Eastern Bloc, including the USSR. Alright, let's go to the next leader, Abraham Lincoln. At this time, the year is 1865, and Lincoln is on the winning side of the war. On April 14, 1865, this is when Lincoln and his spouse decide to go to the Ford Theater and watch a play. One of the actors that works in this theater is John Wilkes Booth. Booth is a huge fan of the South and he does not want slavery to go away. So his number one enemy is Abraham Lincoln, leading the North to victory. This is why John sneaks his way up to the patio upstairs and goes behind Abraham Lincoln and does what he does. He shoots him in the back of the head and runs away. This murder is the most famous assassination of the 19th century. Even though Lincoln's death changed the American history forever, but it wasn't gonna stop the North from winning the war, because after a few months the South surrendered and the war was over. Let's go to the year 1797 in Iran, when Agha Muhammad Khan was the king of Iran. This man had a lot of fans, but he also had the same amount of enemies. He was the first Shah of the Qajar dynasty, so he's extremely special. He was the man that basically unified Iran once again after it had been demolished. So in Persian history, which is very long, he's one of the most important ones. He's the last king of Iran that made the country bigger as well. In the year 1797, Agha Muhammad Khan entered the city of Shusha in the Caucasus and very easily took over the city. Unfortunately, history has a bunch of stories on what happened. But 3 days after he takes over Shusha, two Georgian men in front of the king started to fight with one another. And the king of Iran was so offended that he told his men that these guys should be executed for doing this in front of me. But the day was Friday, and in Islam, Friday is holy, so they can't execute anyone. So the king tells them to hold off until tomorrow. But the insane thing is, the king didn't tell his men to tie these guys up and put him in a jail cell. They just left them out free, and the king went to sleep in his tent. We're not sure exactly how these two Georgian men planned out the assassination, but as been said, someone from the Persian army helped them. These three guys got into the king's tent and they stabbed him while he was sleeping. And this death basically changed the history of Iran forever, because Agha Muhammad Khan did not have a son, so his nephew was chosen as the next king. And that's when Iran goes downhill. For the next death of a leader, let's go to the latest one, Iraq 2003. Everybody knows this year, the United States military very easily takes over Baghdad, but Saddam, the president, is nowhere to be found. But after a few months, he's found in his bunker and arrested and put to trial. This trial takes over 3 years, but eventually he's sentenced to death by hanging. Saddam always requested, if you're gonna kill me, you have to use a firing squad. But it seems like the court did not want to do that because they sentenced him to death with hanging. And he was hung on December 30th, 2006.